Hi there, I'm Matt with K15T, and in today's live stream, we are going to look at creating amazing overview pages in Confluence. And yes, this is live, so you'll see me make mistakes, but the best part of this is there is a live chat. So you should jump into that chat and have conversations, say hi, ask questions, correct me when I'm wrong, because yes, that does happen, and I like being corrected live. So to kick stuff off in the live chat, to make this really lively, two things. First of all, if you would hit the like button in YouTube, we found out that makes the algorithm happy and it might invite some new members to join our little live stream experience here today. That would really help. And then also, I have a question for you. So please drop your answer into the chat. The question is, what information would you like to see on an overview page in Confluence? Like if you're just looking at a page and you're like, look, there's a lot of information in Confluence. I want to see these bits of information. What do you want to see? What's most important to you in your role? Share that in the live chat. So let's settle down a little bit and talk about our changing Confluence sites. It's like a health class in 4th grade, but a lot more fun. See, as Confluence grows, the hierarchy tends to grow as well, and that's a good thing. We want to fill our spaces with great pages, but what tends to happen is the hierarchy gets bigger, right? It gets deeper, there's more and more content in here, and you start to feel like, okay, there's important information that's really deep in there. And there's only so much you can find in search, and there's only so much digging you can do, because remember, we're trying to save time by putting all of our information in Confluence. And some of these really important bits of information I would actually refer to as data, and not just me, a lot of people do. So from my understanding, data are sort of key pieces of content that people need to know, and then data put together with a context gives information, and our brains can then create knowledge. Ooh, fun fact. So what we need to do is surface some of those bits of data, those really important pieces that are hiding in our great Confluence pages, and bring those into one nice overview page. And without further ado, I will not tease you anymore. This is exactly what what I want to create here as an overview page. So this page is for our marketing team, and we create content. These are projects to create different types of content. So the team that I work on, we create live stream content, we create video content, we create article content. So a lot of the projects are very similar. There's a lot of key pieces of data on each of them that we want to keep track of. So here we're looking at a Confluence page, and you might be like, okay, Matt, this looks like exactly like every other Confluence page I've seen. Yes. So here at the top, I just have some basic information about our process and some steps for how to get started. There's some useful resources here, but here's the magic of a true overview page. Right here. Right here, I have a table that shows the details of all of our current marketing content projects. I can see who is working on those. I can see the category, what it's about, the goal of that particular project, the JIRA issue, when we plan to publish the content. That never seems to stick. We're always off with those. But anyway, a short text description of it, the status of it, or status, depending on where you live. That's super useful, right? To know, are we still working on this? Have we published it? And then the title of the piece. So we could just create this by dropping a table in a Confluence page, which is okay because we're getting those key bits of data in the right place. But the problem is you have to update that. And that's not what we want. We want Confluence to do all the work for us, or at least as much work as possible. And yeah, I agree. A search bar definitely would be helpful. Thank you for throwing that in the chat. The search bar and the search macro is helpful for surfacing some of that key information, but I really, really like the visual here. So let me show you how we got here. All right. So first I'm going to jump over to one of the project pages. I don't have a lot of project information here, but imagine it should actually be there. I'm going to add a really, really powerful macro here. So I'm going to use the slash command. Just type the slash key, or you can use the plus button here, the insert menu. Either will work. And I'm looking for the page properties macro. Enter a table of summary information in this macro and display it on another page. Oh, cool. Tells me kind of what it does right here. So there are some settings for the page properties macro, but we don't probably need to mess with those at all. So what I need to do here, kind of the way it's described up top, is I need to add a table. So I'm going to create a new table here. And I have a table with 3 columns. I'm just going to get rid of this one because there's really only 2 that matter the most. And I like to change it up. I like to do a header column and not a header row, because what we're creating here are, I think what is officially known as key value pairs. So here's the key. So the key might be something like title. And then the title might be something like, I don't know, what's so smart about Smart App? Whoops, copy pasta there. Or maybe short text. So these are just, it's basically what is the thing and then what is the actual thing. So I'm going to add a few more items here. Let's see. Whoa. Editor is having a rough day. Is it Monday, editor? Calm down, calm down. So let's do author. So one of the cool things is I can add elements as well. So I don't have to just add text in here. So I could say an author, the author of this is Yusuf, and maybe another one might be status. And I could add the status element, right? So I can add any elements or macros I want to in here. And so this one is in progress. Make it green. Cool. So I can fill this out, and maybe I will end up with a table that looks something a little bit like this. Like, my copy and paste skills are not ready for this live stream. Here we go. So I just have a bunch of useful information about this particular project and that bit of data that goes with it. Right, I've just added those to the project page. And one best practice you can use here, something that we use sometimes, is these first 2 columns are the only ones that really matter, but we sometimes like to add a 3rd column, which is kind of like help text. So to help your team, if they're filling this table out and they don't exactly know, what's the category, we have just sort of instructional text here. So, we tend to add these when there are fields that are a bit more ambiguous, that maybe people are like, I don't know what the goal should be. I'm not sure what needs to be defined in a goal. So here I have defined a table of properties, and that's half of the important things that I need on my project page. The other important thing is a really good label. So if I jump into the labels area here, you can see that I've added the label marketing content. So that's really important because this page is about marketing content. I could add an additional label, like I could say project. So I'm very specific here with these labels to say what is on this page. This is marketing content. This is a project. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. So I have a really good properties table and a really good label. So this page is ready to go. So now let me show you and also I should be clear, I've added page properties tables to all of my project pages. So there's several of them that live under here. Here's one, here's one, here's one. They all have page properties macros on them. So now let's take a look at our overview page here to see what is going on. So in here, I have this fabulous macro called the page properties report. And again, you can use the slash command or the insert menu here to add a page properties report. That is just a macro. You can drop it anywhere on the page. So let me show you how this is actually working. So here, I have to specify 2 things. First of all, what label should I be searching for? So in this case, I want all the pages that have our marketing content label on them. And then I want to see all the pages in the current space that match this. I could also say another space, or I could say any space throughout all of Confluence that has that label on it. bring them in and give me an overview of that. These are called filters, and you can add a whole bunch of other filters. Like maybe you want to have an overview page of just stuff that you are working on. So you could say the creator is, Yusuf. And then you're only going to see those marketing projects that you are working on. So those are filters. So that's sort of how you tell Confluence, here's what I want you to show here. And you can see here's a sort of a demo of what's going to be pulled in. The other cool area is the options, which is super sweet. There's some amazing options in here that we can employ. So one of those is we can limit the number of things to show here. So if you've got hundreds of projects, maybe you only want to show like 30 of them. You can control what field these are organized by. So maybe you want to organize them by title instead, right? So I'll change that. I'll sort them by title. Another thing I can do is maybe I don't want to show all the columns. So I could say, instead I want title. This is just a comma separated list. I want category and I want status. Those are the ones that are important to me. Oh, and I want author too. Let's get author in there. So now I can hit save. And here is my report. And you can see it's filtered or it's sorted by the name. I had reverse sort selected, so they're reverse alphabetical. I'm only showing the title, author, category, and status. How did I get title in there twice? Let's take a look at that. Maybe it always shows title. Maybe that's a primary field. Yeah, I guess it's always going to show title. Let's get rid of that. That's confusing. There we go. So you have title, author, category, and status. So these are the most important pieces of data for me as maybe the marketing leader to see what is happening with each of these marketing projects. So this is one example of something that is happening here. There are many other ways that we can use page properties to create an overview page. And I'm just checking my notes here to make sure I'm not missing anything. And then also just want to encourage in the chat, let me know, what do you want to see in an overview? What kind of like projects or things that, that are hidden away in Confluence that you want to draw out? I want to talk about that. So throw that in the live stream or in the live chat. So another use case here, this is a product development team. So you might be on a product team. They have a whole bunch of pages that have user needs. So they've interviewed users and they've identified all these different things that users want. Now, all that really important information right now is buried on these pages. Yeah, I can hover over and get a little bit of detail, but there's some key bits of data that I want to pull out of those. So on all of those, I've created properties tables. And I can see as a product manager or as a team member, all of the needs, who created those needs, when it was created, where that came from, and then the user story associated with it, and including, we've also kept track of the votes. So this is really helpful for my team to see, okay, very quickly, what is it that our users are asking for? So there's another use case of an overview page, just using page properties and the page properties report macro. Let's look at another one. So here's one that a lot of us can relate to. Maybe your company manages internal events. So we give lunch and learns. So right here is the lunch and learn page with some great information about what lunch and learns are, how they work. And then here are all the upcoming lunch and learns. So each lunch and learn has a properties table on it. Let's take a look at that. So here's one right here. Here's the properties. So duration, full text, media, abstract, all that stuff. And then our beautiful page properties report is just pulling that right into this page. So this is cool, right? I can learn about all the lunch and learns, but you can take that even further because remember, this is just a macro that I've dropped on the page. It's just the page properties report macro. So I could also have a page like this called events, and this could have all of the internal events that we're holding. So what I've done here is I've actually dropped in several page properties report macros. So here's one that shows all the lunch and learns. This one does not have one, but I should have one. And then here's all of the team events. There's only one team event, so there's not too much to show. And this is particularly helpful if, like, for example, here, I have different bits of data I'm pulling in for each one, right? Short title, date, audience, and speakers, whereas this is event name, date, location, and owner. So for the different types of events, different bits of data are more important. So I've used multiple page properties reports here to pull in the information about those different events. Here you can see them in action. So you can create really amazing overview pages this way and bring your content together. And look, there's that live search macro that somebody mentioned in the chat earlier. So this is where I want to know, has anybody in the chat made an overview page? What kind of overviews like are people asking for? What have you created? Have you used the page properties report macro? Or are you using just a table? Do you have a bulleted list of stuff? I would love to know if you throw in the chat what you've created so far, what you used to do it. I just want to know, like, what is everybody up to? How are you making all this stuff? So these are really awesome macros that all of us can enjoy, but there are some things that we need to keep in mind. A big one is consistency, because what we're really doing here is we're building what's called a mental model. So we are kind of figuring out, okay, here's our space. Here's how stuff should be organized in our space. Like, here's where all of our project pages should be in the hierarchy. That's part of the mental model. But then we're also saying on each of those pages, there are key pieces of data or information that every one of those pages should have. That is okay for you as the creator of the mental model to know, but everybody on the team also needs to be able to follow that mental model. So you need to set this up in a way that this can be done consistently, because the page properties report or the page properties macros on all the project pages have to have the same fields in them for those to show up in the report. You can't have 3 projects that have a new field and have 2 that don't have that new field. The page properties report macro will not work that way. So consistency is important. So a couple of things to point out that we are doing here. So one, I'm sorry, I bumped the mute button. So we add create from template macros on all of our overview pages, because it's really, really important that we keep all of our pages consistent. So here is a new page that I just opened from that create from template macro. You can see I'm using our project template. So within our project template, you can see we've already added the page properties macro with a table with all that instructional text. So very quickly, somebody can get going creating a new marketing project. This helps make sure that all of our new marketing projects have the property, there is a properties table. They all have the same data in them. And if we look, they all have that marketing content label as well. So templates are really important when we're using page properties, because it helps make sure that every page that is made is exactly the same, has the same bits of data, so those same bits of data can be shown on the page properties report. So that's really important. Another suggestion that I would make is we actually have a free app called Create from Template Pro. Totally free, go and grab that. That lets you do some extra things like change the color of this button. You can create pages in new places. There's some really cool extra things you can do with Create from Template Pro. But either way, that's super important. And then the other thing is you have to be consistent with those labels. Like I mentioned, if you can put the label in the template, that's great, because then people don't have to think about it. But if there are situations where people have to put different labels on different pages, maybe to say, well, this page is a marketing project, but this one is an engineering project, make sure that everybody knows in your process you have to apply this label to the page so that things show up on the right overview pages. So you can see how we're kind of a little bit scratching we've kind of like pushed page properties as far as they'll go. And we can see some of those limitations. So I'm just checking the chat to see, has anybody out there made an overview page? Maybe not. Maybe that's why you're here, and that's cool. But I just wanted to make sure that there aren't some incredible ideas. People are saying they lost my audio. Aw, you missed me. Thank you. I missed you too. Well, actually, you were here the whole time. I can't hear anything that any of you are saying. I wish I could, though. All right, throw into the chat if you've made an overview page. So let's talk about some downsides of page properties, because there definitely are. That consistency thing is difficult, right? So say you've got it all set up exactly the way I have it here, and you've got a great create from template button, but you have one rogue project manager who's like, you know what? I'm just gonna copy this project that I created 2 years ago, and I'm just gonna change the data, change the information on there. That could lead to problems, right? They could have an old version of the page properties table that doesn't have the right fields in it. Or they could decide, oh, well, I want to track 3 new pieces of information in the page properties on my projects, but then they won't show up in the page properties report macro. It might even mess up the page properties report macro because they're throwing extra fields in there. So they're very delicate. Right? Page properties are very delicate, and any inconsistency can totally throw them off. We have to make sure labels are added correctly. Another huge problem is, say that that project manager does say, hey, we need to have 3 extra fields. And they get together with all the other project managers, and everybody decides together, we are going to add these extra fields. We agree we should have them. Somebody has to go manually through every project page and manually add that additional field in the page properties, which that's not so bad when there's 3 projects. But what about when there's 300 projects? That takes forever to do that. It's a project. It's a project in and of itself. So adding new fields is a bit tricky. And then, finally, consistency is tricky. So if one project manager is using the status macro here in the status field, but then others are just using emoji, so like the check emoji or the X emoji, you're going to have statuses that are all over the place. Or maybe they don't even know that the status element exists, so they're just writing something with plain text. So consistency is also a bit of a problem. So if you've bumped into any of that, you're a page properties power user and you're like, I want more. That's where we start jumping into the Atlassian marketplace for more, see what the evil scientists at K15T have cooked up. So I wanted to show you an app that we made called Orderly Databases. And that's because we use this app all the time. This is Confluence without Orderly is ruined forever for me, because this is so powerful, especially when compared to page properties. So let me show you how this works. So I am here on the Orderly Databases page, and I want to make a new database. So we manage a lot of speakers at K15T. So we try to speak at events and share our knowledge. So I'm going to make a new database called Speakers that kind of holds all of the people within the company who like to speak, what they like to talk about, what they're interested in. So we have this really basic view here. And I'm going to get started with adding some fields. So first we'll have the title of the speaker. I want to add another field here. This is exactly like with page properties, where we were able to add as many fields as we wanted. But in Orderly Databases, we have field types. So field types are super cool because we can control what goes into the field and have that consistency. So maybe the first one is like speaker, right? And it's an @ mention. So you have to pick a user in Confluence who is the speaker. So I'll show you how that works in a minute. And then maybe I want to add a select field. So this is a really interesting type of field. So I could say areas of interest. So what types of things does this person like to talk about? And maybe I'll add some things like, collaboration. Spelling is going out the window here in a live demo, or Teamwork. Wow, I mean, those are basically the same thing, but I could add as many selectable items I want here. I can order them. I can even make it so people could add a new item, right? If they don't like everything that's in my list. And also I can make it so they could select multiple. So I'm gonna add that. And then maybe, I'll add an image field. So I can say, do headshot, right? So this is the speaker's headshot because you need that when you apply for somebody to speak. So I'm going to save the changes here. So now I have this little database and I can really quickly add somebody. So, whoops, I should have cleaned up this field. I don't need you anymore. It's been fun, but you know, I need you to go away. Actually, this should be speaker. Oh dear. Oh dear. Live demos, having fun, making a mess. Yes, I know. Okay. Let's pretend this field doesn't exist because I didn't make a good database here. So let's make a speaker for Matt. So we've got Matt Reiner here, and his areas of interest are teamwork, but also he really likes new work. That's a cool topic, right? Ooh, I just added a new selectable item there. And then headshot, let's see, do I have my headshot here? Oh, look at that. There's my headshot. Boom, and I'm just gonna go ahead and save the changes. So now you can see how I've added myself as a speaker here. Now this is a really kind of an ugly database here. This is a bit primitive. There's much more I could do here. Maybe I wanna drag this around. I wanna put speaker here. Title I wanna do away with, but that's my own problem. So let's see what a full-fledged database might look like. So here is our proper speakers database that I actually spent time on and thought about for 2 seconds. So here I can see all of our speakers, their headshots, where they're located, areas of interest. And again, like we have lots of cool areas of interest that people can select from, and they can add their own. One of the cool things with a true database is I could filter these. So I could say, okay, I'm an event planner and I want to know, you know, I want to see who might want to speak, who's interested in team collaboration. So, okay, very instantly, I'm seeing the 3 of us who are interested in that area, you know, in that topic. I could also, you know, hide some of the fields. So like, I don't want to see the bio or the role or the location, or maybe I, you know, maybe I want to sort this by maybe their location to see, oh, hey, we need somebody in the United States. Let's go with Matt. There's so much I can do here to then view this content, which is so much better than the page properties, which just list stuff. So we can go much further with this. So there's really cool things like here I've actually connected this to another database. So this is also connected to our people database for our company. So this is actually my company photo that's being pulled in dynamically. That's one of our advanced field types. But let me show you how I can then use this database, because I can use it on all sorts of pages across the company. So here is our speakers overview page. This is just here in our marketing space right here. And I have all of our speakers here. Now you'll notice this looks a little different. That's because there's a card view as well. So I don't have to look at stuff as a table, which is sort of a downside of page properties. So here, this is just a really great view for looking at our speakers, what they're interested in. This is super cool. And I just added this with a macro. I just dropped an orderly database macro in here. I said what database I want to use, what fields I want to show, and it's just added right here on my page. And I'm allowing people to edit. You can also just have it be read only. But the cool thing here is, you know, say, Matt Reiner, you know, I'm interested in something new. I can just click and go add new work, right? I do like new work. New work is a cool new topic. So right there, without even having to jump into the editor, I've just made a change to my database. And as I mentioned before, it's really a pain to add a new field with page properties. You could just go into the database here and add a new field, and it will just be automatically added to all of your records, and people can just go and update it. So the consistency is so important with databases, and you can do it really, really well with orderly databases. It makes such powerful overview pages. So page properties are so amazing. Orderly sort of takes that to the next level, but the key here is we're building mental models for our organization to find the useful stuff that is buried in our really well-organized pages. So Thank you so much for joining this live stream. 30 minutes never seems like enough. Do check out Orderly. It's free for organizations with 10 users or less. So do that because free rocks. Also check out, if you like written stuff, we have an article version of how to create overview pages over on Rock the Docs. Definitely check out Rock the Docs. It's full of great written content. And subscribe to our newsletter. We'll let you know anytime we add new written content or videos. And then check us out on YouTube. There is a video about creating overview pages, and also we are about to complete our tutorial series on how to get started with the Confluence editor. So if you have a new team member, they can learn how to use the entire Confluence editor in about 30 minutes, which is pretty sweet. So, join us on YouTube, and of course, join us for another live stream as we continue to explore how to use Confluence to share what you do best.